It's been 4 years. For some, the time has flown by, and for others, it's been the equivalent of a 4-year root canal without the anesthetic. Long, painful, and emotionally taxing as the guy in charge keeps asking you to open your mouth a little bit wider. After a while, you can't give any more than you already have been. I mean, under the Hippocratic Oath, it's not only the dentist's job, but his sworn duty to carry out his profession ethically with the highest level of honesty. It all boils down to what I like to call integrity. Once the strain and pressure of holding their mouth open becomes too much for the patient, there's a choice to be made by the dentist. Schedule another appointment to complete the procedure, or press through to benefit his bottom line. By oath, jamming a vise into a patient's tiring mouth to hold it open as to avoid a second appointment should never be the option. I mean, the lasting impact in terms of pain and the fear of the next experience, that's just so hard to calculate. Imagine your children in that chair. There's little Brittany crying in pain, tired, slobber dripping down her little chin, scared of the dentist for the foreseeable future. The consequences of this situation go far beyond the visible pain on her face. The only thing that will put an end to this nightmare is for the guy in charge to stop doing what he's doing. But he won't. You are the only person that can step in. It doesn't matter what the race of the dentist is, where he went to school, or how eloquently he speaks in his own defense. The facts are the facts, and he needs to lose his job. Something about a man showing the willingness to step outside the constraints of those he is serving to accomplish his own agenda is, well, it's more than troubling. In fact, at that point, I'm looking for a lawyer. I mean, the man broke the sacred oath. Now, before you shut me off or click away, give me a chance to explain the analogy and make some sense of the current circumstances. Feel free to disagree if you wish, but hear me out. See, 4 years ago, the nation bought into hope and change. There were passionate promises of a brighter future, cut deficits, something to believe in. Yet notions of doing a patriotic duty, helping the middle class, and putting the nation back to work, well, they've given way to a higher spending, poorer middle class, and greater concerns than ever about our national security and relationships abroad. Don't believe me? Well, let's just take a look at some of the necessities. It was $1.86 per gallon of gas at the pump, and it's now given way to upwards of $5 in some states. The premiums on health care have gone through the roof, and now we're either going to pay for it or be taxed the difference. Want to start a business? Well, new employer taxes make it near impossible to hire on a small scale. Entry-level jobs have become the bread and butter of the industry veteran. The underemployed are the middle class these days, and the unemployed are eating off their dime as they try to survive, try to find work. I mean, a highly educated young man trying to start life is told he is overqualified or too inexperienced. These aren't stories that I heard in the media. This is my personal experience and the experience of countless people around me. I've been laid off, turned away, and given every line in the book about needing someone with more work experience. Listen, I'm 29 years old. I went into graduate school with an incredible job market waiting for me after graduation. I went on to graduate at the top of my class with a master's degree that should have been easy to pay for with one of those jobs. What I found waiting for me was the toughest economy of our lifetime, and student loan debt that seems insurmountable as I compete for positions with 300 or more applicants, some of which have decades of experience, and the prospective employer, he gets to pay them the same wage. See, my parents started a business during this current administration. They had a business plan that involved putting in those long hours until the business was established, and then creating several jobs to lighten the workload. The thought of hiring an employee was quickly shut down as the new taxes and regulations made the cost of hiring a needed employee, well, basically the equivalent of paying two people. My parents, the small business owner, try telling them they didn't build their own business after a 12-hour workday. Jobs and the economy aside, I'm just as concerned about foreign affairs. Under no other president in history have we bowed and catered to the extremist parties of the world. During this term, we've aided to power the radical Islamic Brotherhood in Egypt. and aligned ourselves with world leaders like Russia's Vladimir Putin. The President of the United States has made phone calls to congratulate Hugo Chavez for winning a scandalized election, tried to relinquish Guantanamo Bay to the Castro regime, and failed to protect our own embassy in Benghazi, Libya. Obama has chosen his friends and alienated those that have stood with this nation for centuries in the process. All of these friends, including the Castro family, have cast their support for Obama. It's never been done before. And somehow, the unthinkable is acceptable. These men are the antithesis of the American way. Their support should be the death blow to the campaign of an individual running for our highest office. Suddenly, the president of Iran, voicing his support for President Obama, somehow speaks of great diplomacy? The administration has allowed the Iranian government to continue their nuclear program with little interruption. Iran, an extremist nation with clear, unapologetic intentions of using weapons they developed to destroy Israel and their allies. Instead, we disrespect Israel in an effort to show solidarity to these Islamic nations who seek our demise as well. But anyway, who cares, right? I mean, allies are easy to come by these days with the Middle East on fire. I find myself with so many questions the president is unwilling to answer. Should we still hope for things that we expected to see change over the last 4 years? I mean, it would be unpatriotic to add the deficit rather than cutting it in half after making that promise in the first bid for office, right, Mr. President? I mean, paying for your health care bill, tax by borrowing more money from China after robbing Social Security and Medicare, that's an outlandish accusation, right? The possibility of brooming the dead of our nation and destroying the American dollar is silly, isn't it? See, here would be a great time for you to say yes and mean it. No, seriously. Please, make us a promise you intend to keep. Let me make it easy for you. Just say you'll honor the Constitution instead of treating it like an outdated piece of scrap paper to doodle your fancy new Forward logo on. Please, sir, I beg of you, assure us, and mean it, that you won't try to take away our free speech and disguise it as an attempt to end hate speech. Please stop secretly planting guns and weapons in the hands of criminals and calling for stronger gun control as a result. Please say that the idea of terrorism coming back to our shores is nothing more than a figment of the imagination, because you're going to do more than sit on your hands and watch as they attack our embassies, troops, and our allies with no remorse. No one would have ever expected this. See, now would be a good time to calm our fears about a second term that's headed straight towards a post-Christian socialistic republic that wants to grow government rather than supporting innovation and the entrepreneurial spirit. No? I mean, why are you smiling? And stop biting your lip. And please, would you tell the white-headed gentleman behind you to stop laughing like a supervillain? You see, friends, it's not the idea of giving a little more that frustrates me. Americans are the most resilient people in the world. The thought of the dentist knowing exactly how fatigued we are and jamming a vice in to finish the job, that's what's unacceptable. Barack Obama took an oath even more sacred than the Hippocratic Oath. Every president since George Washington has taken that same oath, and no one has ever had to question the validity of it until now. It went something like this. I do solemnly swear that I, Barack Hussein Obama, will faithfully execute the office of President of the United States and will, to the best of my ability, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States. See, this isn't a black and white issue. In fact, race has nothing to do with it. We're about to vote or not vote for a man that admittedly despises the Constitution he swore an oath to preserve, protect, and defend. We stand at the precipice of something that will affect our children's children. This is the decision that will determine if we rebound or fundamentally change our nation forever. It's time to stop the procedure, demand a second opinion, and put an end to the poor practice that will leave even those under its care irreversibly damaged. The United States of America has always been a beacon of hope and strength for the rest of the world. Under the leadership of a president that promised more hope and change, we have lost hope and changed for the worse. It's time to change the dentist, dear friends. It's time to elect a new president before the repercussions are irrevocable, and you have to ask the government if you can make an appointment. It's time for Mitt Romney.